Hey guys, Dave from KDN Performance here. Today we're going to be installing the new B front wheel drive shifter into this 98 Integra. Okay, so Darren, what made y'all want to change to our new B front wheel drive KDN Performance shifter?
Well, we were looking for a true 121 232 lockout for our car, and basically it just would give us peace of mind that it's going to go into gear correctly every time.
Yeah, and avoid some human mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So now we're going to show you what comes inside the box and how to install it into your front wheel drive B series Honda. So when you order this kit, it always comes in two boxes. This is your main boxes. You'll find your shifter and your lockout stuff in it. This tube is for the linkages. So in the main box, you will find this 1-to-1 lockout box if you choose to order it with the 1-to-1 lockout. This is your shifter linkage welding jig. This is the jig to help you drill the floor pan. Got some stickers, a lanyard, and our new B front wheel drive shifter. So in your second package that you'll receive, all of your shifter linkage and stabilizer bar is going to be into this one. They're bagged separately. So this is going to be your shift linkage, and this one is your stabilizer bar. I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to show you what's inside the 1-to-1 lockout box. In this box, you'll find your 1-to-1 lockout housing, the lockout plunger, and all the necessary hardware to put it together. So the first step of this installation is going to be to bolt this jig on the floor pan and mark your 4 holes. First step we're going to do, you're going to take your floor pan drilling jig. You're going to grab 2 M8 by 125 bolt that are not included in the kit. Just grab whatever, because this is just temporary. You're going to bolt it down to your 2 factory holes. So next, you're going to want to mark those 4 holes. A lot of people like to use either like a smaller 1/8 drill and just drill down 4 pilot holes. Me, I prefer to just mark it, center punch it, come back and drill it. So now I'm going to go ahead and just mark my holes with the Sharpie. I'm going to center punch them. Also, if you had previous shifter install, there are good chances that your floor is a little damaged and cut away. So our shifter, because it's like a sandwich design, it's going to help put rigidity in there. So now that you're done and all your 4 holes have been marked in center punch, you can go ahead and remove the plate. So me personally, I like to use a smaller 1/8 drill bit, just because I feel like the 3/8 tends to want to walk a little bit. So this really is more about preference than anything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drill all 4 with the smaller drill. So now you're going to grab your drill, and you need to use a 25/64 drill to finish the holes for the shifter. So because this car had a different shifter style installed before, we could only drill 2 holes because they took out a little more material that was required. So we're just gonna take this die grinder and open up the corners a little bit So our shifters is a sandwich style shifter, so it's gonna just grab onto the floor. So it doesn't really matter if we're missing a little bit of material in the corner. It's just fine. It's gonna add a lot of rigidity in the floor. So if you already had a shifter and you took out too much material in the corner there, do not worry. It doesn't matter with our shifter. So I like to use like an angle grinder like this with a roll-lock disc, just to clean all the burrs from the drilling and the die grinding. You can use whatever you have, but just make sure you don't have any burrs sticking up. So when we put down the shifter doesn't sit right. So that was quick. Now we're gonna go set up our shifter on the table and we're gonna come back and put it in. Now that we finish drilling the holes in the car, we're gonna get our shifter ready. So if you bought it with the 121 lockout, we're gonna go ahead and install the 121 housing on the shifter. So take the foams off. So we're gonna grab the 121 lockout housing. We're gonna put on the left side of the shifter. We're gonna take our hardware bag and we're gonna use the 2 M6 bolt. So grab the 2 M6 bolts. One goes in the front, one goes in the back. Grab your 5mm Allen wrench. I like to make them snug before I tighten them all the way down. So now we're going to install the 121 lockout plunger. This one goes on this side. It pushes the lockout gate, just like that. We're going to grab the 2.5mm Allen bolt, one washer each. So we got a smaller one and the longer one. The smaller one will go on top in the top hole. The smaller one will go in the top hole, and the longer one goes in the bottom hole. So I like to put a little bit of Loctite on there, just so vibration doesn't make it come loose. Just a little bit. I like to put the bolt through. I find it easier that way. Again, I prefer to just run it down and leave it loose, so it's easier to align the second bolt. Again, a little drop of Loctite. Now, go ahead and tighten them down. So that completes the 121 lockout installation to your shifter. Now we're going to go ahead and take the bottom plate off, and then after that we're going to install the staging brake base plate. So go ahead and take off the 4 corner nuts. You can leave the bolt in there, doesn't matter. I like to use one of those plastic wedges so it doesn't scratch the powder coat. Just get in there. It's a snug fit, so you might have to work your way around it. You want to gently go around a little bit. It's going to make it easier. And pry those 2 plates apart like that. Just pry them apart like that until it pops off, like that. And you can take it off. If you opted to buy our staging brake base plate, we'll show you how to install it. If you choose not to buy it, then you can skip this part and go straight to the install of the shifter. So in the package, you got the plate, some 2 washers for the back, and we also have 2 bolts for your staging brake, and you got a countersink bolt that's going to tie this plate into the shifter. Those are the 2 washers. This is your hardware pack, and this is your staging brake base plate. It's made out of 1/4 inch steel. It's very sturdy. You want to open up the hardware bag, and you want to take the bolts out. This is what we need right now. We need this M6 countersink bolt. We're going to need those a little later in the car. So once you got your M6 countersink bolt, drop a Loctite on her. Grab a 4mm Allen wrench. Take your base plate, flip it over, and we're gonna bolt it down to the shifter. That's it. Now we're ready to go install into the car. So now that we got the plate installed, we're ready to go and set it on the floor in the car. Just want to show you guys these washers. These goes into the back hole, and there's a lip on them that fits nicely into those holes. Those 2 are going to go into the factory hole in the floor pan. They go like that with those 2 cap screws, so it fits real nice and it looks real good. So just a tip, when we go inside and start adjusting everything, this hook is there for it to lock when you're in first gear. So we found out through testing that depending on the bell housing that you use, you might have to move this in the slots, and you're going to need a 5mm Allen wrench to do that. If you want to verify your bolt pattern when you drilled, make sure it's right, you can take the bottom plate, if the dowel pin stayed in it, you can try to fit it into your holes. I can see I have 3 of them right. One of them needs a little trimming. That's where we couldn't drill. We had to open it up with the die grinder. I'm just going to go ahead and take a little more out of it, and we should be good. Again, I like to come in with the angle grinder and just clean up my burrs. You can go ahead if you want to put paint over that. It's up to you. This car is going to go through a lot of change, so we're not going to do that right now. I can go back and verify. Yeah, see, we go all the way down, so we can go ahead and install the shifter in it. So now the next step is going to be to actually put the shifter down on the floor pan. You see the little notch there? That is made to go over this little hump in the floor. So you can go ahead and set your shifter down. And with staging brake holes, you'll see they go over the stock location shifter bolts. So now you can go ahead and take your washer with your 2 bolts. You can set them down, get them started. $5mm Allen wrench. Again, I like to get both snug, make sure everything is where it's supposed to, and then tighten them down. Now we're going to take our 4 M8 bolts. We're going to run one on each corner. Now the next step is going to be to go under the car and install the bottom plate and the shifter linkages. So now that the shifter's in the car, all the bolts are in there, Their end's gonna go inside with the 6mm Allen wrench. We're gonna put the car on the lift. I'm gonna go under and install the bottom plate with the 4 nuts. Now that the car's on the lift, we got Darren inside, I'm gonna go ahead and install this plate. It's a tight fit, so you wanna push it in there a little bit to have enough room to get your nuts started. Gonna grab 3/8 ratchet with a 13mm socket. And I'm gonna go around and tighten every bolt a little bit at a time so the plate gets on there right. Okay, we're gonna go back right, back left, okay, front left, okay, front right, rear right, okay. I'm gonna go grab a 13mm wrench because these pipes are a little bit in the way. So I got my 13mm wrench, front left, now that we got the shifter properly seated in place, we're gonna back the 2 right nuts, this one and this one, so we can install this jig like that. This jig is gonna make sure that the shifter is centered. This is gonna be very helpful when the time comes to install our shift linkages. So now we're gonna back the 2 nuts. So we're gonna take the clip off for the linkage to install the jig. I like to use this flat blade. Makes it easier because these clips are kind of hard to remove. That's the whole point of it. You don't want it to just fall off. So I flip it up like that. I take it off. You just want to back the pin a little bit. We're going to take our jig, line it up in these 2 holes, run the nut, sorry. Run the nut. I'm gonna have Darren on top hold these bolts again for me. The front one, just need them snug. You don't have to go crazy on it. Okay, now you need to push the pin through the jig. And that is gonna ensure that your shifter is in the correct position for when you weld your shift linkage. So this is the stabilizer bar that is supplied with this kit. However, if you run a mid-plate setup, you might choose not to run it, but we do recommend you running it because it ensures that the distance between your shifter and your transmission will never change. If you pull the motor out, put it back in, it's always going to land in the right spot. So first, I like to install this on the transmission side. Take your bolt and your washer, get it started. Okay, I like to leave it loose so I can run it up or down and it stays there, it won't fall. So now I'm gonna come up in the front of the shifter, take this clip off. I'm gonna put that clip there. I'm gonna back the pin that is gonna be holding this arm joint. I'm gonna back it off so I can take these 2 spacers. So we got these 2 spacers. This spacer goes into this arm joint, one on each side, and they fit pretty tight in there. Now you want to take your 3/8 pin and test fit in there, see if it fits. You can go ahead and test fit it in there, see if your adjustment is correct. I can see it needs to be a little longer. So I'm gonna unscrew this arm joint to make the linkage longer. I'm gonna try it again. See if I can get my pin in there. See, it went perfectly. Now I'm gonna tighten the jam nut on it. Use a 19mm wrench to get the jam nut tight. And now go ahead and put back on this spring clip. Can you see that?
Yep.
Hold on. Now you can go ahead and finish tightening this stabilizer bar bolt. This one is a 12mm. That's it for the stabilizer bar. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to install the shift linkage. So this is going to be your new shifter linkage. This is the one supplied with our kit. It features an high quality U-joint, and we've engineered this pin to replace the roll pin that is always hard to take off. This one comes off real easy. So you won't need that punch and hammer again. This pin is machined especially to fit this groove, so you don't have to go on top and put a wrench on it. Okay, so now we're going to install the shifter linkage. Sometimes it's a little tight because our tolerances are very, very tight. So from a setup to another, you might have to get in there and clean a little bit of the powder coat to make sure it fits nicely, because I could force it in there, but it's going to be a real pain to take it off if you want to change the transmission. So since it's a little tight on this setup, I'm going to take this sanding roll and I'm just going to clean up a little bit of the powder coat inside this fitting. So now that we got that all cleaned up, I just want to point out this shift selector rod had a pretty significant burr because it was hit so many times with the punch and hammer. So this side of the hole was coming up a little bit. So we had to clean that down to make sure that this piece fits nicely. Like that. So now I'm going to install the new pin. You want to go and put it from the top because you want gravity to be your friend if the nut ever fall off for some reason. Once that in, you can go and put the nut on there. Again, you don't need to tighten it because we're going to have to take it off to weld this side to our flange. So one good tip to do that is you want to push your selector in the forward position and then lift your rod and line it up with the flange, get it inside, and I want to pull back on this linkage and put the transmission in neutral. I like to use a screwdriver. Sometimes you have to shake it. Yeah. So our transmission is back in neutral. One good tip when you want to make sure that your transmission is in neutral before you go ahead and tack weld your rod, I like to take a screwdriver, put it in the universal joint and rotate it. So if it can move, that'll tell you that your transmission is in neutral. After that, you can go ahead and tack weld your shifter linkage. So now that we know that our transmission is in neutral and our shift rod is set into our flange, we're going to mark it and we're going to clean some of the powder coat so we can lay a couple of tack welds on there. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to mark it. So now we're going to push this rod forward so it slides off of our shifter flange, and we're going to sand just the tip of it real quick. Now that we got the end of this rod all cleaned up, we're going to put it back in the flange and throw a couple tacks on it to make sure it doesn't move. Again, you want to make sure that your shift selector is in neutral You want to make sure you got your pin is still coming through our jig. Everything nice. We're going to bring the welder and put a couple tacks on it. Now that we're done with the tack welds, we're going to take it off and fully weld it. Now that we got the shifter rod tacked up and all clean, we're going to finish welding it on this table. So now that we're done welding it, we're just going to throw a touch of paint on that and we're going to put it back on the car. So now that we're done welding the shift linkage, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take off our jig and put back our 2 nuts. Now that we've taken off the jig and it's not needed anymore, we're going to go and completely tighten these nuts. So now that the paint has dried, just like before, we're going to go ahead and start with the transmission side. We're going to put it on the shift selector rod. Get our pin from the top, jiggle in there. Just like that. Now that you got the pin in there, we're going to go and hook your shifter rod to your shifter with this 3/8 pin that is included with your kit. I like to put the pin from the back so it's easier to put the clip on after. Oh, there you go. Sometimes it's a little tight. You might want to wiggle it to get it all the way in. And now the only thing left is to put that safety clip back on. So we just finished installing the shifter rod. I just want to give you guys a quick tip. If you ever want to change the center point of your shifter, or you're looking to get more throw from a side to another, you want to come under here on the shift linkage flange. There are 3 5mm Allen key bolts. You want to loosen those, and that's going to allow you to rotate the shifter rod from a side to another. We have some engraving under there that's going to help you keep reference on which side you've rotated. Now that we're done with the back part of the shifter rod, I'm just going to come back up front there and finish tightening this 13mm nut. Now for the last part of this installation video, we're going to do the lockout adjustments. If you have a dog box, you want to make sure that it goes completely in gear. You might have to rock the car back and forth a couple times to have it to go from first to second clean. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to go ahead and put the car in first gear, unlock the lockout, put the car in second gear, but you want to keep pushing towards the driver's side. See, this plunger should have gone down. What this means is that we need to make an adjustment on the lockout piston, and I'm going to show you that. So you're going to grab a 10mm wrench. The piston bolt is right here behind the gate. You want to get in there and thread that in if your plunger hasn't gone down. So that's what I'm going to do. So give it a turn or two and try it again. Activate your lockout. Go in second gear and keep pushing towards the driver's side. It went down, but it was real close. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little more. Okay. Lockout back into home position. First gear. Activate your lockout. Shift the car in second gear. Keep pushing towards the driver's side. See, the plunger went down fully with me pushing towards the driver's side. Now I can test it going into third gear. Third gear, fourth gear. So now the only thing left is to adjust the 232 lockout. That has already been covered in a previous video. The only difference between this setup and the other shifter, this is a trigger instead of a pull collar. So guys, this concludes the installation video for the B-Series front-wheel drive shifter. I want to thank Darren for coming in and helping us install the shifter in that car. And I want a special thank to Mr. Aaron Lopez for hosting it in his shop and letting us use his tool. So guys, we'll see you at the racetrack.